Mike Singer, blueandgold.com with Tyler Horka and Patrick Engel, just a few days away from fall camp beginning for the Fighting Irish. I think that the top topic to discuss when it comes to Notre Dame's August camp, probably got to start with the quarterback position, of course. Notre Dame losing Ian Book. His talents are now with the New Orleans Saints. So I think we got to start with Jack Cohan, the Wisconsin transfer. What are kind of the expectations going into his graduate transfer year at Notre Dame?
Yeah, Cohan, I'm looking at it as a favorite for the job until he's not, or until Kelly names somebody else the starter or anything. I'm heading into training camp. You've seen in the spring Drew Pyne and Tyler Buckner at least make it a little more interesting, open up some fans' imaginations, but there's still a big experience gap in between those guys who've played a combined 25 snaps and Jack Cohan, who started 18 career games, went 10-4, played in a Rose Bowl at Wisconsin, won a division. That matters, especially at quarterback, especially with all the other transition, both from just an overall personnel and leadership standpoint on Notre Dame's offense. And, yeah, I think that we'll end up seeing Jack Cohan as the starter. He's the favorite heading into camp.
Yeah, certainly will be interesting what Drew Pyne does. I mean, and seeing him in the spring and even clips that he posted on Instagram this week throwing with Kevin Austin and Joe Wilkins and some of the other Notre Dame receivers, it looks really good. I mean, when you see him in those settings, Drew Pyne might be able to make things interesting.
Yeah, and if you've seen our top 25 rankings, then I definitely think that that'll be the case. But, I mean, like Patrick said, Jack Cohan's the obvious choice going into camp, but I mean, camp is where you make a name for yourself. And if Drew Pyne's going to do that, he's got a whole month to say, hey, don't forget about me in this conversation. I could easily start at Florida State on September 5th, too. I don't think you'll see that happen. I think you'll see Jack Cohan take the reins. But, I mean, these are valuable reps for guys like, Drew Pyne, Tyler Buckner, even Brendan Clark, because if something happens to Jack Cohan early in the season, or if even training camp doesn't go the way that Jack Cohan wanted to go for him, Notre Dame fans wanted to go for Jack Cohan, then those guys got to be at the ready. These reps are so valuable.
We talk about Jack Cohan and Drew Pyne the most. Brendan Clark's probably like, hey, why is nobody talking about me? I mean, what's kind of the outlook for him going into this fall?
Yeah, it was tough for him in the spring not being able to practice, coming back from a knee injury that flared up in the second half of the season, wasn't able to play. I believe the Pittsburgh game was his last appearance, but now all you can really ask is get healthy and just see if you can make a move in camp. Like Tyler said, this is what that's for somebody surprising. Certainly Buckner's progress from when he enrolled in January to the end of the spring is another variable in that maybe you wouldn't have expected if you're sitting in Brendan Clark's shoes. But yeah, this is the time to show he's healthy and just see what kind of move on the depth chart he can make and how much he's able to put himself in that competition with those guys.
Yeah, now Tyler Horka, you wrote an article at blueandgold.com today about 5 freshmen to watch. Tyler Buckner, of course, for fall camp, you mentioned Tyler Buckner. I mean, the fan base is certainly exciting, about Tyler Buckner. What are kind of your overall thoughts about him right now heading into fall camp?
Well, I think everyone's excited about him because he might bring something to the Notre Dame offense that those other two guys don't, in Jack Cohan and Drew Pyne. I mean, what he can do with his feet is obviously very exciting if you're a fan, very exciting if you're Tommy Rees, who's looking to, try to get something out of this offense. But, when talking about that, though, Ian Book did a lot of those things too. But if you have the combination of, arm strength, accuracy, vision, I think Tyler Buckner's the total package, as a quarterback. I don't know if that's going to be the case right away. I think that's why you see Drew Pyne as probably that number 2 guy in that race right now. But it wouldn't shock anybody if Tyler Buckner enters that conversation a lot faster than you might think as a true freshman.
Yeah, so that's talking about Notre Dame's 4 of Notre Dame's scholarship quarterbacks. Of course, you have Ron Paulus, true freshman for the Irish in the 2021 class as well. So quarterback position will certainly be watching August 7th and the rest of the month as Notre Dame prepares for Florida State.